we'll play you the tracks that make you feel good on 919.
So it is a Tuesday afternoon. We normally chat property, and I suppose we're still going to be chatting property this afternoon as we welcome Etchells and Young back in our studios. A very good afternoon to you, Harry. Lucky to have you back again this week.
Awesome, Al. Thanks, Al.
And you've brought us a very special guest this afternoon in the form of Liad Hadar. I hope I got that right.
Liad, but that's fine.
Oh, you see, Liad. Sorry, Liad. But I was concentrating on the surname so much that I think I got the name wrong. And you are the director of Hadar Incorporated Property Laws, should I say, Hadar Incorporated, which is property law specialists.
Correct.
Well, lucky to have you in the studio, and I think well, let's tell you what we're going to be chatting about. We're talking about evictions, and it always interests me when it comes to evictions because as South Africans, we think we know the law. There's a thing that everybody reckons is law called squatters' rights. So it's going to be nice to chat with somebody as far as legal is concerned to find out if that is a thing or not. We're also going to be chatting about evictions, etc., which is going to be a very interesting chat. So welcome to the show. Tell us a little bit about your company, a little bit about yourself.
Okay, thanks, Al. Thanks for having me and thanks for inviting me. Hadar Incorporated is a property law specialist firm. As you've correctly said, we specialize in all things to do with property. We started this particular firm 7 years ago, based in Sandton, and basically it's a one-stop specialist solution for all things to do with your landlord rights and tenant rights, but mainly landlord-centric. We are what we consider a new age law firm. We call ourselves Law Firm 2.0, which for us just simply means we are constantly contactable, we are efficient, we are tech-based, and we offer solutions, not problems, effectively.
Fantastic. Now, Harry, I'm going to point over to you for a second because you've brought this guest to us, and I'm going to ask you the question: is eviction something that you guys deal with on a regular basis? Because just listening to that introduction, I would imagine that that to have a gentleman with such stature, you'd have this problem all the time.
Al, yes. So yes and no. Yes, clearly evictions are part of dealing in rentals. And, for that, I think Liad and I met 15 plus years ago. We had a bit of a gap in between. But, we've been speaking to each other about evictions and, as he says, landlords' rights and dealing with problems. Sometimes it's just a phone call. Liad, what do I do in this situation? And he'll help me out. Yeah. As far as Etchells and Young's concerned, thankfully we do not end up with many evictions. Managing about 1,500 properties, if we have 2 or 3 a year, it's quite a lot. And quite honestly, the main reason for that is if we do proper screening of tenants before they move in. So you prevent the problem before it starts. But life happens, people's circumstances changed. Probably one of the saddest things we had is a guy who was a tenant with us, paid his rent on time, every time for 5 or 6 years, had a bit of a mental health crisis, lost his job, and sadly had to be evicted at the end of the day. So those things do happen.
Fair enough.
But prevention in this case, I think, is definitely better than cure.
Absolutely. Are evictions? Who can evict people?
Okay, so generally in terms of the applicable legislation, I'll probably get into it shortly.
Yes.
Landlords, the definition is the property owner / landlord can evict an unlawful occupant from the premises.
Right.
So, for example, Etchells and Young won't be the applicant in any eviction application, but their clients would be.
Okay. And when does an eviction become necessary is the big question.
Okay, I can jump in here if you don't mind, Harry. Basically, and just to go one step back, I must give Etchells and Young huge credit to the way they run their book. As Harry has said, we haven't had much work from them, which we are grateful when we do get it, but of course we're happier for them when they don't have to get us involved. Prevention is better than cure, just like you've said. and the tenanting vetting process is critical. When do you start? Is the minute that the tenant defaults on payment. That's really it. It doesn't mean you start the eviction process, but you take action. Again, something I think Etchells and Young are really good at. And over the years of being close to each other, I know that they don't sit in their hands. And that's my biggest takeaway right now, is to tell people who are landlords, don't sit on your hands, don't wait. If you have a managing agent, get them to send the letter of demand out urgently. And if you do it yourself, do the letter of demand urgently. That's the first process in the entire application, is demanding payment from the tenant in terms of the lease agreement.
Right. So, Liad, when do you start seeing those red flags as somebody that's renting to a tenant?
Honestly, from day one. I'm talking even occupation. If the deposit isn't paid on time, if the paperwork's not done timeously, you've got problems in your hands already. Don't go into this relationship thinking, and it is a relationship, don't get me wrong. Landlord-tenant relationships are critically important. Don't go into this relationship with your eyes closed. If there's issues from the beginning, just be aware of the red flag. If everything's sorted out from the beginning, like Harry has said, there are very good tenants out there. Pay the deposits, pay the rent on time. The red flag then only starts when there's a missed payment. You immediately make contact, you find out what's going on. If they have a plausible reason for missing the payment date, maybe they were overseas, the banking system was down, that's okay. But if it's been a week and you haven't done anything about it, you are getting yourself into a hole.
But I suppose from a tenant's point of view, it's also a good idea to reach out and let your landlord know that, listen, my salary hasn't cleared today, but tomorrow we'll make a plan, right?
No, absolutely. If I can also just jump in there, that is vital, because then at least you know what's happening, and you can then start discussions with that tenant and rather be proactive in dealing with it. It's just when there's absolute silence, there's no rental payment, that's when we start seeing the problems, or when you have promise after promise that doesn't materialize. And not that you want to evict the guy on day one, but if you don't start that process right away, like literally day one, we actually go, I think, on day 3 or 4, the notice will go out, the notice of demand that your rent hasn't been paid. Yeah. Because and that's also in terms of the CPA, the Consumer Protection Act, if it applies, gives that tenant 20 business days to remedy the breach. That doesn't mean that you do nothing for 20 days. You give him 7 days to pay. Yes. If he hasn't remedied after 20 days, you can then literally cancel the lease and start the eviction process. Okay.
All right. Now, speaking of that process, how does it all work?
Okay, so I think Harry touched on the major points. The letter of demand starts the process. The 7 days, if that's what your lease says, that's what you demand in terms of payments for now. And the 20 business days, if it's a CPA, and I'll speak about legislation as well, not to bore anyone. Yes. There's a five different sets of legislation which pertain to landlord-tenant relationships. But the letter of demand goes out. In the 7 days, if they don't pay, you can then elect to issue a summons against them for arrears. We're not here to talk about that right now. It's a side topic. Yeah. But after 20 business days, when they expire and payment has been made, you're in a position to then cancel the lease. The moment you provide the cancellation is the moment that they are now deprived of any legal entitlement to be in occupation of the premises, and then therefore change the definition from tenant to unlawful occupant. And that starts the entire eviction process, where we are now empowered as attorneys for landlords to launch an eviction application against the unlawful occupant at that point.
And what could complicate or delay that?
So several factors. Yeah. Incorrect service of letters, wrong letters going out, and that's again why the partnership between Hadar Incorporated and Etchells & Young is so strong. Yes. We know the paperwork's great. When it comes to us, it's foolproof. A wrong letter, not applying the CPA to an individual tenant, a person, and not providing them 20 business day notice, all of that is fatally defective, and you have to go back to the starting point.
So if I'm a landlord and I've got a tenant that's giving me hell, and I contact you, what will an eviction cost me these days, firstly? And secondly, how long will it take before you get them out of my house?
Okay, so I can only speak from my own firm point of view.
Yes.
Plus minus, an eviction will cost you about 25,000 Rand plus VAT. We at Hadar Incorporated split that up into 3 stages of charging. It's relatively equal in each stage. And we only charge you as and when we achieve every stage. That's just our own unique way of doing it. So you're looking at about 25,000 Rand plus VAT to obtain your eviction order if it's unopposed. Opposed applications cost a lot more. It's like a game of chess. You don't know how it's going to pan out, how much work will be required in an opposed application, but you can factor in about 25,000 Rand plus VAT for unopposed applications.
Okay. Now I'm gonna go back to you, Harry. I want to know from you the biggest mistake that landlords make when it comes to this.
I think by far is what we've touched on already, Al, and that is when a landlord doesn't take action immediately. The longer they take to give us the go-ahead to hand this over to Liad them, potentially the worse it becomes. And when the warning signs and the red flags have been waving, and the landlord says, we all want to be compassionate, and again, it's going to depend on the communication from the tenant and their sincerity, and because that's our job, is to negotiate between the landlord and the tenant and try and find a solution. Is he happy to enter into a payment arrangement and actually make those payments? Then we won't have to go to an eviction.
Yeah.
But when the tenant has stopped paying and he hasn't paid for month 1, month 2, by the end of month 1, the process should start.
Yeah.
And if they haven't paid and you delay it to month 2 or month 3, it just becomes so much more difficult.
Yeah,
so
because somebody's going to be on the back foot.
Exactly. So not only now has the guy missed out on 3 months' rent, but he's got a 25,000 plus bill to pay if this then does go through the court. So it's a double cost for him.
Yeah. And is there kind of any penalties that as a landlord can a landlord charge a tenant any penalties for not paying on time?
Yeah. So not penalties. Okay. So firstly, in terms of the Rental Housing Act, the landlord cannot charge any late payment penalty.
Okay.
Okay, but I think that's maybe slightly separate. With regards to cancelling the lease and the costs, the lease agreement, or most lease agreements, any good lease agreement anyway, will make provision that all of these legal costs and fees will get lumped onto the tenant's account at the end of the day. So, the tenant, by making a decision, and it is a decision, not to pay his rent, not to enter into arrangement, and to stay in the property, that is something that's potentially going to be life-changing for him going forward, because all of these costs, if there's 3 or 4 months, 5-6 months in the property, plus the 25,000-30,000 rands worth of eviction costs, he's looking at 100K plus potentially that he has to deal with at some stage in his life. So the landlord cannot charge penalties, but he can pass the costs on to the tenant. Liad, is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Obviously, it's tax costs and so on. Not to get into deep technicalities, but in terms of the lease agreements, tenants are liable for legal fees.
Okay. I got a couple of messages in from a few of our listeners. One says, "Hi there, would you find out for me if dealing with tenants, are there protections for vulnerable tenants, such as children or elderly, etc.?"
Okay, I'm happy to jump in and answer this one. I specialize in evictions. I might just quickly give you an anecdote. And people say to me, how do you sleep at night knowing that you evict people? And I must say, I don't mean this in a crude way. I sleep well. And the reason I say that is because we don't evict good people.
Yeah.
And not to oversimplify this, but as Harry said, if you're in trouble as a tenant, over-communicate with your landlord, with your managing agent, make a plan. It's the guys that we evict who have just completely decided, as Harry has said, not to pay anymore for whatever reason. The guys who speak and enter into settlement agreements, we try to facilitate that to its full end to make sure they remain there, but not at anyone's detriment. So speaking about evictions and the pitfalls that you've got that were mentioned, and the circumstances, the PI Act, which is the governing legislation, the Prevention of Illegal Evictions and Unlawful Occupation of Land Act, that governs the eviction process, and it actually makes special provision for people that are affected by evictions, and that means female-led households, disabled people, children, minors in the premises. It makes provisions for them, but I think what's important to understand, it's not a defense to an eviction. It's circumstances which are considered by the court when granting an eviction order, how long they should be given in order to vacate and find alternative accommodation. So it's not a defense, it's simply important circumstances to consider.
Yeah, makes a whole lot of sense. Now, you and I were briefly talking, and it was very brief, Harry, and you were telling us about a situation that came up just this week.
Yeah, in fact, this morning I had one of our agents come and ask me about this situation, and I'd like Liad's take on it. So we have a tenant who signed the lease, and his partner was listed on the lease as an occupant. So not a tenant, not a co-tenant, but simply an occupant. Sadly, they've broken up, and the tenant has vacated the property, allowing his ex-partner to remain on until the end of the month, whereafter he wants to move back in, has given her the month to find something else. She's not found something else, and she is now resistant to moving out. So her legal status on the lease is simply an occupant, not the tenant. And the tenant's question to us is, what does he do now? What does he do, and how can he get her out of his rental property that he wants to move back into?
So officially, she's standing by her squatter rights that she doesn't have.
And the squatter rights is what Liad needs to get back to us. What is squatter's rights,
Please.
and how does it work?
Okay, so I'll just quickly squash that misconception. There's no such thing as squatter rights. This isn't the movies where possession is what do they say?
9/10
of the law. I
Yeah.
mean, it's not like that, there's a lot of legislation which governs the landlord-tenant relationship, and it's important to understand that, which is why we're specialists.
Yeah.
Don't think that any general practitioner can just do an eviction or understand the rights. So there's no such thing as squatters' rights.
I wonder where that misconception came from. It had to start somewhere in this country.
I think I can tell you, after 16 years of practice in property law, people talk and forums online and saying, it's impossible to evict people. It's not impossible. We've got a motto internally at Hadar Incorporated, which is, and we tell our clients this, it's a matter of when, not if. You will get your eviction order. Why? You are the landlord, you are the property owner, the occupant or the tenant, the former tenant, has breached your agreement and has been deprived of its legal entitlement to be in there. How can it not be granted if you follow the paperwork correctly?
Yeah.
To go back to Harry's very interesting example, and just a special mention to Jason Jung-Kun, one of my senior associates at Hadar Inc., who does work with Etchells and Young.
Yeah.
He actually prepped me for this interview. I've been out of the trenches for a little bit, and he told me about some interesting cases, very similar to this one. And the short answer is that the contractual relationship is between the landlord and the tenant who signed the lease. Yes, the ex-girlfriend's been signed or mentioned as an occupant, but she has no contractual relationship with the landlord, which means that if the tenant cancels his lease or his lease gets cancelled by the landlord, the occupant who remains in the property, if it's not him, has no rights to be there. So let's squash the misconception of squatter rights. She has zero rights to be there. She's an unlawful occupant. And only the tenant can occupy, and only the tenant can occupy if he or she is up to date with their contractual obligations.
Makes a whole lot of sense to me. Now my favorite part of the show is our property of the week. What are we looking at today, Harry?
Our property of the week, we're talking affordable lifestyle estates on the West Rand today. We have a 3-bedroom cluster home in Baltimore Estate, and this is all about security, security state living, beautiful, modern, open plan home, open spaces, swimming pools for the kids, outdoor activities for the kids, and something like this could really be somebody's next amazing family home. The best part is it's a chip and a putt away from Jackal Creek Golf Estate, if anyone is into golf. And the price has just been reduced to 2.16 million rand. So I think that's quite a good price.
Definitely
for
affordable for a three bedroom. Did you say a 3-bedroom?
3 bedroom, 2 bathrooms, beautiful home, yeah. And if anyone is interested in something like this, you need to please reach out to Phil Steinberg. His number is 071 302 6592. And you can reach him on email, Phil, Phil, at Etchells and Young, ETCHELLS, and A&D, then Young, YOUNG.co.za. And obviously the same just for our website, to get onto the website.
And you'll find all the details there on the website anyway, won't you?
We'll find all the details on the website. You can just search Lifestyle Estates, West Rand, and that will come up.
Fantastic. Now let's get all your details, because I'm sure there are some people listening right now and are going, listen, I need to evict somebody. Maybe they've been in their house for over a year now and they've thought that they've had no chance in hell getting rid of those people, and they want to reach out to you. How do they do that?
Absolutely. So you can visit our website. Our firm is called Hadar Incorporated, HADARINC.co.za. That's our website. Have a look there. All our contact details will be there. You're welcome to email us, call us, and someone will help you.
It has been a pleasure having you gentlemen in our studio this afternoon. Thank you very much for coming through. Thanks for clearing the misconception of squatters' rights. If ever anybody uses that phrase, you can now tell them it's a load of wash.
Exactly.
Right?
Thank you
so
so
much.
much. Thanks.
Anyway, let's go back to the music. Here's something local. It's the Black Hat Bones and Hail Mary at 99.